So whether it's from childhood or whether it's from adulthood, we all develop these self-destructive patterns of some sort where you're doing something that you think is positive because you want to feel good or you want to feel better, but it actually ends up hurting you and is actually really negative. And the opposite is very true too for negative motivation. So it's that flip side when you want to do positive things and you have goals that you want to accomplish, but you use very negative motivation. I see this negative motivation all the time. People talk trash about themselves. So whether you're trying to do something positive and getting a negative outcome, or you're using negative motivation to get a positive outcome, we have to try to restructure these ruts that develop in our brains that keep us stuck. So then it's like, if we've identified these ruts and we can see the ways that we're holding ourselves back, it's like, what do we do about this? Like, okay, we see everything wrong, but then like, how do we fix it? Well, I posted a reel a little while ago about stop trying and start training. And so kind of what that means is behavior modification just doesn't work. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's New Year, it's January 1st.
I'm eating only vegetables. I'm not gonna eat anything else except vegetables. I'm going to gym twice a day.
And then it's like February 1st, what you doing? What you doing February 1st? What you doing February 1st? Are you going to the gym? Are you eating rice, broccoli, and a protein shake? I don't think so. At least that's not the norm, okay? So how do we go from trying and failing? How do we go from behavior modification to actually putting things into practice that will produce change? How we do that? It's not easy, I'll tell you that, because it takes time for the negative ruts to form, the negative neural pathways to form in our brain. It takes time for the new habits and the new positive neural pathways to form as well. It's not gonna happen overnight, and it's not gonna magically start on January 1st either. So don't even come at me with that. Don't even try that and tell me the New Year's resolution stuff. Because if you ain't doing it now and you're not taking the steps to be ready to really implement long term on January 1st, you're not gonna wake up on January 1st and magically like be a different person. So start, if you wanna make a New Year's resolution, really start making the changes in your life now and start doing the small things now so that when January 1st comes, you can say, hey, I've actually been working towards this resolution for the past 2 or 3 months, and now I can say this is becoming a regular part of my life. It's not perfect, but it's becoming a regular part of my life. So think about that, y'all, okay? Think about it. You're still gonna be the same person on January 1st, so don't start tripping, okay? Don't trip. We gotta get to the root of these problems. Now, y'all, I live in the rough streets of the Chicago suburbs, okay? So wintertime is coming. I don't even want to think about it, but I have to think about it in order to finish this video. So wintertime is coming. So if it's negative 30 degrees inside of my house, and I have on a coat, I have on all the heating pads, I've turned up the thermostat, I've turned on the oven, I've got on gloves and boots and everything, and I'm ready to beat this cold. If I do all of that and then y'all realize I have my windows open, you're gonna be like,
sis, like, what are you doing?
Why are you wasting all of this time and energy and you got the dang on windows open and it's negative 30 degrees? I would hope that somebody would tell us this, that her window is open. That's the root of the problem. The problem is not,
hey, Brandy's not generating enough heat inside of her house.
the problem is, Brandy's got the window open. Hey, maybe if you close the window first, maybe then your house will start warming up. It's the same thing with our mental and emotional lives. Like, we have to address the roots of the problems instead of just doing all this like busy work and thinking that we're actually making progress when we're not. Because changing behaviors and doing stuff is not going to produce lasting change. So for example, how did I stop doing the things that I didn't want to do? How did I start doing the things that I really struggled to do but wanted to do? Well, I had to change a lot of things, but I had to bring a lot of things to the light. I had to stop hiding. So I've been going to counseling very consistently over the past year and a half or so. And a lot of those root problems, a lot of those ruts, a lot of those messages that have been playing in my head, a lot of that stuff came out in counseling. And I realized that counseling isn't for everybody. A lot of this stuff is not for everybody, but this is just what worked for me, and you just have to find what works for you. Another thing that I did is I started listening to a lot of audiobooks specifically focused on the problems and the things that I was struggling with. So a lot of things around childhood trauma and anxiety, depression, PTSD, that kind of stuff, and thoughts and beliefs and how my faith plays such a crucial role in all of that stuff. Now, I actually personally prefer reading actual physical books, but just with my schedule and my jobs and all that stuff, it's just a lot easier for me to digest and then like replay and listen to audiobooks. And so you gotta make it work. Like, I understand we got jobs, a lot of y'all have kids and stuff like that, or school, or you're in college or whatever. Like, you just gotta make it work. Like, I had to take this stuff seriously if I wanted to make real progress in my life, and the audiobooks that I've been listening to have really helped. And a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about today when it comes to like neural pathways in your mind and ruts that we get stuck in mentally and emotionally, a lot of this stuff is coming from an audiobook that I've been listening to over the past few weeks called Winning the War in Your Mind by Craig Groeschel. Now, Craig Groeschel is a pastor and a thought leader, and I've read several of his books. I've read at least 3 or 4 of his other books, and every book that he has written thus far has been a banger. Like, so many things that I take away from his books that I just have to read it and really digest and really like identify some of the things that I'm struggling with through the exercises that he has you do in a lot of his books. And so once I take those steps and really like marinate on the content, it ends up really changing some of my patterns and habits and behaviors. And so this book has definitely been doing that for me. And I'm the kind of person with an audiobook where I will listen to it multiple times. Like, I'll listen to it all the way through, and then I'll like go back and play it again, and then I'll listen with like a different ear and I'll pause it and I'll say, okay, now what am I doing here than what he's referencing about ruts that have formed in my mind? What ruts have I formed over time? So this book, Winning the War in Your Mind, has really been so helpful for me. And in this book, when he talks about ruts, he talks about how ruts are very like messy, and they're usually unintentionally created, like kind of without meaning to create them. They're just things that kind of happen and people get stuck in ruts. Whereas a trench is created and dug for a specific purpose. It's done with intentionality. And so he talks about ruts versus trenches of truth. And so the ruts, they get formed over time. And so trenches of truth, those kinds of things, they need to get intentionally dug and created over time as well. Only the trenches, they have a specific purpose to be helpful and beneficial, whereas a rut is just something that happens and it's very annoying and keeps you stuck. So when it comes to forming trenches of truth, you just really have to find what works for you. So looking in the mirror every day and saying,
"Oh, I'm awesome."
If you don't really believe that, then don't say that. Make your truths meaningful, make them specific. Don't be generic about it. So when I was trying to overcome my negative pattern of overworking out, doing too much cardio, trying to burn as many calories as I ate, when I was trying to overcome that rut of burning just as many calories as I ate, that was really ingrained in my mind. And so the trench of truth that I had to create for myself years ago, and I didn't even realize I was doing this at that time until I started listening to this audiobook recently. The truth that I had to create for myself to get out of that rut was, hey, I'm somebody who wants to be healthy. Is this a healthy thing that I'm doing for for myself when I go to the gym and I try to work off just as many calories as I'm eating? Is that something a healthy person does? And I had to be honest and I had to say no. And then I had to say, if I want to be a healthy person, if I want to look in the mirror and say,
I'm a healthy person and I desire a healthy life for myself,
I have to stop doing this negative thing. And I had to literally look at myself and say,
Brandy, you are training to be a healthier person.
and this is way back. This was like 10 years ago. This is like 2013, 2014. And eventually, over time, it was not perfect, okay? I probably was on my way to the gym to burn off as many calories as I ate while I was saying this to myself. But one day I went to the gym. I think I went there for an hour and I left. And I said,
this is what it feels like to be a healthier person.
and as I made those steps of progress, I had to acknowledge them. I had to say, man, I didn't hit my goal for today, but I didn't go overboard today.
And that's a mark of a healthy person.
Somebody who doesn't go overboard, whether it's food or going overboard on training. A healthier person is able to identify it when they're beginning to go overboard and is able to start making those shifts and changes to do something different. And so that took time. It takes time to develop new truths about yourself that you're actually going to believe. But you have to be aware of when you're starting to make progress, because remember, I became a person who was very negative towards myself, very hard on myself. And I still am sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, this is not like perfection mode right here, okay? I'm still very hard on myself sometimes, but I'm so much better than where I was at before. And as I've continued to talk about these things, and like people who knew me back then, even they can affirm, oh yeah, you've come such a long way, you're so much healthier now, you're much happier now, like your countenance is very different. And so all of that now is affirmation for the positive ways that I've been reinforcing good behaviors and positive change. Now I'm getting feedback from people who care about me in my life to say, yes, this is evidence to support that, like, yes, you are doing well, you are doing better. And so you build on the good things that you're doing for yourself. You identify the good things. You share what your goals are with people who you can trust and people who are gonna support you and help you. And then you build on that, and slowly you start to form these trenches of truth and these things that you really can believe about yourself, because now you have evidence supporting these new positive behaviors that you're changing. So, be specific. Take this stuff seriously. If you can't look in the mirror and say, I'm awesome, then don't do that. Do something that's going to be meaningful to you. Do something that is showing that you're training to become a better person. You don't have to try to lie to yourself to make stuff up. So if you struggle with binge eating or something like that, tell yourself, I'm working to become better with my eating habits. I'm working to become more stable and more balanced in my nutrition. Tell yourself that. I'm somebody who's not going to give up on this. Say positive things to yourself that are going to help you get a little bit closer to where you want to be. And don't hide things. Share things with people who are going to help support you. Sound off in the comments. We have a very supportive community here. So sound off in the comments if you have literally no one in your life who you feel like you can turn to right now. Once you get the ball rolling on this, once you start building those trenches of truth, it really does change your life for the better. You just have to find what works for you and be intentional about it. Reading God's Word has also been very powerful for me during times where I felt negative about myself or not super confident. For example, Psalm 139:14 says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And somebody who's fearfully and wonderfully made is not going to talk down to themselves, is not going to beat themselves up when they mess up. And somebody who's fearfully and wonderfully made is also going to help other people who are also fearfully and wonderfully made by God. So reminders of truths like that in God's Word have been just so beneficial to me. Having those truths ingrained in my mind that I can always go back and refer to has really meant a lot to me. And so once you start establishing truths for yourself, it's really important to repeat. Repeat it over time. Be consistent with it. I know I talk about consistency a lot on this channel when it comes to diet and exercise. And y'all, this is just a different form of exercise. It's just mental, emotional exercise, but it's the same concept, okay? The same concept. In the same way the negative thoughts and habits came into your life over time, the new thoughts and the positive habits are gonna have to come into your life over time. The way that you talk to yourself, it's gonna have to improve over time. But you have to actually do it over time every day. Honestly, I find myself assessing how I talk to myself several times throughout a single day. Sometimes I say,
have I been like mean to myself in the past hour? Have I been too hard on myself?
Like, I really do have to be careful because I can easily slip back into the negative patterns of thinking about myself and others. One really great quote in this book that I've been talking about is, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. And watch them habits, because they become your character. The journey to your destiny starts with your thoughts. Like, y'all, no kidding. So I actually saw this play out with someone who was addicted to nicotine. And when they were questioned about why they use nicotine, they basically said,
I don't know, it just feels good.
So not only was this harmful substance a dopamine hit for this person, but it was also something that they just kind of mindlessly turned to whenever they were upset or triggered. They didn't even really know why they were doing it. It was just something that they were doing every day that was very detrimental that they didn't even really think about. That's terrifying. But it's the same concept with the patterns in your life and in mine, the habits and the behaviors that we engage in that we really don't even think about. But it's these same behaviors that keep us from living the lives that we actually want. So we have to be intentional in asking ourselves why we actually do the things that we do. And again, this is an ongoing process. So why do you want to lose those 10 pounds, but then every other day after work, you're headed through the fast food drive-thru? Why do you want to develop meaningful friendships, but then you make fun of people or gossip about the people who are closest to you?
Why you asking all these questions, making statements?
And why do you want more joy in your life if you start popping off at people in person or online? Because a lot of people be popping off online. Something's not adding up here. But a lot of the time, people don't even realize what they're doing. They don't even realize how they're sabotaging themselves because it's just that automatic behavior. So we really have to be intentional. We have to be in integrity with ourselves and not operate on autopilot. It hurts ourselves, but it also hurts others. Be honest about asking and answering the questions that you have about why you do the things you do. These questions will help you understand and then modify your thoughts, your words, your actions, and eventually your character. And don't be discouraged, my peeps. This stuff takes time. I still do this stuff every single day. I'm so grateful for counselors and therapists and audiobooks and libraries and friends and small groups and church and God's word. You know, there's just so many resources that have been made available to me and just so many people who have been there for me as I've struggled through this stuff. And it's not just me. I mean, we all struggle with this stuff in one way or another. Doing the things that we don't want to do and then not being able to do the things that we want to do. And it's really frustrating to be in that numb zombie mode where you're not dead, but you're definitely not really living. So let's just bring stuff to light. Sound off in the comments down below. I want to know what y'all think about all this stuff. I want to know what you guys are struggling with, because you guys, we can live better lives. Continue to progress to our goals. Even if you think your goal is like not that significant.
Oh, I just want to have a little bit more confidence.
Like, no, that's really significant. Let's bring it to light. Let's talk about it. Let's live our lives, y'all. Let's live our lives, okay? That's what this channel is all about. So, thank you all so much for watching. I can't wait to hear what y'all have to say about this one. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram and TikTok for more full body wellness, more shenanigans, more food, more fitness. I post on there very often. So I will see y'all over on that corner of the internet. And if you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Now we're going for 900 peeps. Y'all already know how we do up in here. So thank you again so much for watching. I'm so grateful for you all, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye!